Welcome back to our second digital skills webinar today. I'm Eleanor, content writer at the Professional Beauty Group, and today I'm joined by Kate Woods, who is a digital hair and beauty marketing specialist at Salon Deputy. Welcome back, Kate.
Hi, morning everyone. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you back again. So for anyone who missed last week's, this is part 2 of our digital skills upskill series with Kate. So if you've missed part 1, you can, on creating an online store, you can go back and watch that on our YouTube and IGTV channels. But today we are going to be talking about salon social media marketing. And without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Kate. And if you've got any questions, please do send them in.
Morning everyone. I'm just going to head on over to my screen. Like last week, I'm going to present for you. Most of it is going to be me talking you through things. There are a couple of videos at the end to show you how you could do it yourself, but they're not tutorials. So let's get sharing the screen. Okay. So mastering social media ads for hair and beauty salons and clinics. Right, I'm going to start by letting you in on a little secret. I don't really like social media. I find it really claustrophobic and I find it really quite draining. However, it's impossible to operate as a digital marketer in the modern world without social media. And I learned quite quickly that what I could do was work with social media ads. For me, I found it more quantifiable and it worked much better with the way my head worked. So I could work in short, sharp bursts rather than the constantness of social media. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about Facebook Business Manager. So Facebook Business Manager is a tool that you can use to manage your ads across Facebook, across Instagram, across your stories, across Messenger, and even across WhatsApp. Mostly today, we're going to be talking about Facebook and Instagram. Just on that, I speak to lots of people who say, oh, Facebook's dead and people don't use Facebook anymore. And I have to say that when running ads, I've found that the most successful campaigns are actually usually in Facebook. So please don't write it off. So who can you advertise to in Facebook Business Manager? The reason that I find Facebook Business Manager quite so powerful is that I can choose who I want to target. Just bear with me a second. So who can I target? Well, I can target people who like my Facebook page. This one's quite annoying really, because do you remember how Facebook, you had your page, you sent your content out and you knew that everybody was going to see it. But these days, you know that that's around about somewhere between 5 and 10%, possibly slightly higher if you've got a small following. So this is a way to make sure, Facebook ads are a way to make sure that people see your content. I'm going to be using Facebook as my phrase throughout, but most of the principles that I talk about will go for Instagram as well. People on your client mailing list. What you can do with Facebook Business Manager is you can upload a spreadsheet of your mailing list. And then what Facebook does is it matches those to the email addresses that it's got in its system, and then you can advertise specifically to those. There is a catch with that. Your mailing list needs to be of a certain size. A very small mailing list won't work. People have visited your website. A little bit later on, I'm going to talk to you about a tool called the Facebook Pixel. And what that does is it puts a little bit of code on your website. And it means that you can run campaigns specifically to people who have visited your website. So the great thing about those 3 things is that they're enabling you to send adverts to people that you've already got a relationship with. But you could also send adverts to people who look like those people. And when I say look like those people, obviously I don't mean physically. What I mean is people that have similar characteristics to those people, who like similar pages, who behave in a similar way, which is obviously fantastic. If you know who your ideal client is, then actually you can start to target the people that look like those. People who live near you, you can advertise in a specific radius around your salon. Depending on whereabouts you are, that can be between 5 and 10 miles. People of a specific age. Now, I want to talk to you about this one because I think it's really important, because the great thing about targeted advertising is that you can use words and pictures that are going to that are going to be relevant to that specific age group. I remember a few years back, there was a big thing for campaigns with older ladies in it. And actually, I understand. I think I've seen one from Weller recently. But what I don't see is very much of that on your social media, on Salon's social media. So what this does is it gives you an opportunity to run campaigns to people of a certain age with people that look like them and using words that apply to them. So, for example, if you're targeting a bit of an older clientele with something, you might not want to be emoji-tastic like you would with a younger one. You can target men, women, or both. You can target by demographics, so what they do for a living. You can even target by financial groupings, although there's probably limited benefits for lots of salons of that. By interest, so by pages they like, by people that are into hair, people that are into beauty, people that look at fashion. So that will give you a feeling of people that fit with your salon, with your ideal clients. And you can also target by behaviour. This is an interesting one, actually, by behaviour. And I think we'll talk about it a little bit later on. So what types of ads can you run on Business Manager? Well, Business Manager categorises them in 3 different sorts: brand awareness and reach, which it's about awareness, consideration and conversion. For me personally, I don't think there's any point in doing anything in the left. And if you want to do things in the right column, you need to be a little bit more technical, and you need to set up conversions tracking as well as the pixel or whatever else. So for today, we're going to focus on the middle part. For me personally, engagement is very nice, but I don't tend to focus on that because the benefits are so small. Actually, I want people to take action, whether that's to visit the landing page that I've set up, or whether it's to give me their data in a lead generation form, or whether it's to send a message, which I can then set up a messaging system to respond to. So mainly the ones that I'd think about using would be traffic, lead generation, and messages. Ads you should and shouldn't run on Facebook Manager. This is actually not so much about ads you should and shouldn't run as when to and when not to run ads. And when should you run them? When you have a promotion, if you've got a new starter who you want to generate new clients for, when your appointment book is quiet, if you've got a job vacancy, and if you want to retarget people who have looked at something on your website. For example, let's say you had a membership or a subscription and you wanted to retarget people that visited that page but hadn't actually bought it. One thing I want to say to you about your ads is what you can do is you can set them up and then you can pause them or switch them on and off as and when you're ready. So that's a really good thing, a really powerful tool to know about in terms of those weeks when your appointment book is looking pretty quiet. When shouldn't you run ads? I feel really strongly about this one, and actually I'm surprised I didn't put it first, because for me, when you shouldn't run ads is when you don't have 100% confidence in the experience that people are getting in your salon, and in the fact that once someone comes into your salon, that you've got all the strategies in place to make sure that they come back. So you're rebooking, or if they're a new client, whether you haven't got an onboarding process where you have regular contact with them at first, perhaps get them back in quite quickly. And I think it's really important to have those things in place before you start to throw money at Facebook ads, because otherwise some of it's just going to be like a sieve. And when else you shouldn't run out? When you don't have a targeting strategy. For each set of ads that you run, I want you to really think about who these are targeted to. I'm sure over the last 10 months, you've watched lots and lots of videos like this with marketing specialists who've told you that it's really, really, really important to know who your ideal client is. And I'm just going to really, really stress that. I think it's really important to have down on paper, who am I targeting, who's my ideal client, but then also to break that out into sections for your ads. As I've said, that means that you can target using different imagery for different age groups, but it also means if you were running a campaign perhaps for Valentine's Day or perhaps for Mother's Day, thinking, okay, so this campaign that I'm running is actually targeted to men who are in a relationship, or men who have children in the case of Mother's Day. So it's a case of actually thinking about, okay, who do I want to run this to, rather than just setting up an ad and just putting it out there. The next thing is no converting strategy, which we've kind of just touched on. The next one is a real biggie if you haven't got time to manage these, because the ideal scenario is that you just set it up and forget, isn't it? But unfortunately, that's just not quite how it works. When you're initially setting up an ad campaign, it takes time. And then you're also going to need to monitor how it's working and tweak it if it's not working as well as you want. And then once it is working, you're still going to want to keep an eye on it just in case. Ads, when there's no call to action, there's no point. You're just throwing money down the sink. If there isn't a reason for people to engage with your advert, then don't do it. And also, when it comes to the boost button, step away, guys. The boost button is a really easy way to get your content shown to more people, but actually you can boost that piece of content through Ads Manager in a much more targeted way that's going to get you much better results. And it's all about getting more bang for your buck, isn't it? Certainly at the moment. The key elements that every successful ad needs. Right, I'm going to hold this one up there, and if you're someone that's got a pen and paper, or if you want to take a screen grab, then this is the most important screen in the whole thing. So the key elements: good copy. Copy is the words that you use in your ad. Great imagery, and I've used imagery, but that imagery could be a video. Now, personally, I've had lots of success with imagery of people, so of the salon owner, of their team, of them in action. But testimonials can work nicely as well, or nice pictures of your salon, or or your hair great pictures of hair can work well, particularly if you've got sort of hair that's really going to jump out on a feed, if that's what you do. Just on the subject of your imagery, one thing to note is that Facebook do have some quite strict rules about what you can and can't say and what you can and can't post. They aren't big fans of before and afters anymore, and I've spent literally hours trying to find a way to get through an ad that was promoting dramatic changes. The other thing about that is, in terms of their copy, what they don't like is for you to make people feel bad about themselves, and they quite often refuse to post ads because they've got unrealistic expectations. Now, what Facebook considers to be unrealistic expectations and what you might know the results you can produce in your salon or clinic can be two different things. But unfortunately, it's really difficult to engage with Facebook. And once they've said to you, no, this ad's not going through, you almost have to go, not quite back to the drawing board, but you certainly have to start to seriously tweak it. And you need to have a clear call to action, whether that's buy now or learn more or sign up or shop now. Is going to depend on what the content is. They're going to need a reason to buy. Now, I often talk about, in campaigns, I talk about the importance of creating some urgency. So whether that is an offer that is too good to be true, but there's a limited number of them, or whether it's a limited time, you just need to create some urgency to get people to take action now. A landing page. Now, this is really important. I've run Facebook ad campaigns without a landing page. I've had some success, but the ones that are most effective are always the ones where you do go to a landing page. The exception to this is running campaigns with lead gen campaigns, because that actually takes you to a lead gen form within Facebook. So that's slightly different. If you have got lead gen forms or whatever your lead gen process is, what's really important is to have be able to respond quickly. So if you have a lead gen campaign, then what's happening is you're going to be sent people's email addresses or sent people's telephone numbers, depending on which you ask for. And the quicker you can respond to those, the better. It's worth mentioning that there is some online automated software that can do this, but suddenly it can get quite expensive and quite complex. So if you are thinking about things like that, then it might be worth getting somebody to set up your ads for you. We've mentioned the next one already, the follow-up strategy. That's really important. If someone downloads your first visit voucher, and doesn't come into your salon, you want to know why, right? You want to follow up. And also a tracking system just to check that people are using your ad and that they're working for you. And what you can do is set up some little code so you can see which people have landed at your landing page from your Facebook ad compared to something else that you might be running, or another campaign that you might be running for your salon. So this is just a really simple guide to what the most successful ads have in common. First of all, at the top level, you have your ads, then you drive people to the landing page, and then they'll get a thank you page and an email. It's worth mentioning that can be tweaked slightly, so it becomes the Facebook page, and then they comment, and then they get led to a message sequence. But most of what I'm talking about today, and I've got a freebie that you'll be able to download afterwards, is based on this structure. So what's all the fuss about the Facebook pixel? I don't know whether you've heard of the Facebook pixel, haven't heard of the Facebook pixel, or like, what is that? But in short, the Facebook pixel is just a little bit of code that can go onto your website. And what that does is it helps to track your ads. It enables you to target people who have visited your website before, and it also enables you to run retargeting ads. The other thing it does, it also enables you to run some more clever and more sophisticated ads, but if we start to talk about those today, your head's going to go. So I'm just going to very quickly show you how to set up the Facebook pixel. I like to do these videos just to give you a feel of how the system works and how complicated it is, and whether it is something that you would feel comfortable to do yourself. Okay, so what are the costs of Facebook advertising? Lots of people say, is it expensive? And I would say if it's expensive, then A, you're not doing it right, and B, you should stop doing it. Because the whole idea of advertising campaigns is to make you money and not cost you money. So just as an overview of the costs, Facebook Business Manager itself is free. Funnily enough, you often hear people talking about, oh, perhaps they'll start to charge for groups, perhaps they'll start to charge for pages. I've never heard anyone talk about them starting to charge for Facebook Business Manager, but it is always possible that that might happen somewhere along the line. Your next costs, and I think these are really important ones, are the costs of your imagery. The reason I've got a question mark there is because that can be nothing, you can do it yourself, or you could buy them through a stock photo site, which could cost you sort of around about £10 an image, or you could pay someone to do them for you. One thing I would say about your imagery is it is really important to do it well, because that's what's going to stop people scrolling. And we see something between 6,000 and 10,000 marketing messages a day. So the imagery is going to be what's going to catch their eye and stop them scrolling. So that's so important. The cost of the ads, ad costs of £3 a day minimum. Personally, I'd recommend that you started at £5. It's just more realistic. Tools for setting up your landing page. Now that's going to depend on how you do it. I use my WordPress site to do that, and that's free. However, there is software that can do it for you. Lead Pages is £40 a month, but it is really, really, really brilliant at saying to you, no, this isn't going to convert, or change this text color. if you want to increase your conversions, which is fantastic. But it can go up to crazy amounts of money. Personally, for you as a salon or clinic owner, I would consider lead pages. You don't need to go any more sophisticated than that. Then the next thing is your email software costs. It is so important that in this process that you capture their email addresses as well. Email software costs, I know lots of you use MailChimp, which is free, although as you start to, if you want to include an automation, it's about £20 to do that. There are other options as well out there that are cheaper if you want to do that. But it is important to make sure that you have an email software in place. And then ways to automate responses to messages. Earlier on, I showed you my sort of flow chart of how I like to run a campaign. And I mentioned that you can also run them through Messenger. If you want to run them through Messenger, then there are some really good apps that actually, lots of them are free, that you can use. Just something to mention about any of the software that I've just mentioned here, most of them do have free trials. So if you want to download one and have a little play with it and think, actually, is this going to help me? Then it's usually a 14-day trial. And now, when you've got time, is probably the right time to do that. So can you run Facebook Business Manager ads yourself? Right, last week, I don't know if you were on the call, but last week we spoke about running a shop. And I said, you can absolutely do this yourself if you're at all tech savvy. You can absolutely run business managers yourself and Facebook ads yourself using Business Manager. But what I would say is it does take a little bit longer to find your way around. It's not quite so intuitive as something like Shopify that I showed you last week. Last year they released a new version of Business Manager, and for me that's kind of made it all a bit more clunky, and you actually have to think your way around it a little bit more. And the other thing to know about Facebook tools is that they can be a little bit buggy because they're building more and more stuff on top, and sometimes they don't always test the impact that that's having on the stuff that they had before. So sometimes you can do something, you can be like, I'm doing everything right, what is going wrong? And actually step away, come back to it. If you're sure you're doing everything right, then you might need to take a different approach. So can you do it yourself? Yes, you can. If you can find yourself around with Facebook and a website with ease. If it stresses you out, no. If you're willing to do a little trial and error, look, the reason that there are companies that sell Facebook ads packaging is because they're experienced. They've done it, they've done the trial and error, and they know how to get the results. But that doesn't mean you can't do it yourself. And what I would say about that is anyone that guarantees you results, I'll be a little bit dubious because Facebook changes all the time. And also I've run campaigns for similar businesses that are quite similar and got fantastic results for one and results for the other. So there is no hard and fast, yes, this is going to work. But there are the best practices that I've shown you that with a little bit of tweaking, you can always make work. Can you be organised and methodical? This is really important when it comes to setting up Facebook ads, because you're going to want to know, right, what is the point of this ad? Who am I going to target? What is the text that I want? What is the landing page going to look like? How am I going to track the progress or sell or follow up afterwards? You need to make sure you've got all of those stages in place before you just dive in. And also it's really important to be someone that's going to make the time to monitor the results, because even if you're sending, let's say you set up a campaign and you get 100 people that download your voucher, but if those 100 people, if only 2 of them are coming into your salon and you've spent £100 to get them, is that worth it? So you do need to monitor those results and make sure that that it is working the way that you need it to be cost effective. So when not to do it, if you're getting palpitations just watching this, look, it's not straightforward and it is outside of your comfort zone. For some people, stepping outside your comfort zone is a great thing to do. For others, it can just send them into a spiral. And if the whole thought of that is doing this to you, then it's not for you. if a respectable digital marketing company have offered you free ads, look, this is a real biggie. What I've noticed is quite a lot of marketing what I've noticed is quite a lot of marketing companies in this industry do offer you like a free trial, or they'll offer you, we'll do X amount of weeks, and if you haven't got this many results, we'll do Y amount of results, or we'll do Y amount of extra weeks. And do you know what? That's brilliant. If they're guaranteeing you something, then it's definitely worth considering that instead, rather than you doing the trial and error work. If you don't have time to review it, we've kind of already spoken about that. And also if you're the sort of person that only likes to do half a job, because if you, that's not a criticism, like, you know, you need to know who you are. And actually, I always say that like done is better than perfect. But in the case of ads, you actually need to do this bit and this bit and this bit. And actually, if you're only going to go, all right, I'll do that bit and that bit, then you're not going to get fantastic results. And then you're going to go, oh, Facebook ads don't work. So in short, yes, you absolutely can do it yourself. And actually, I believe if you feel confident to do so, you should do so, because in most cases, a marketing company is going to take almost as much money to do the service as they're going to spend on the ads. So therefore, you are losing half of your spend that you could be putting into the ads to get the results, to get more clients. So I absolutely believe if you feel comfortable and can do it yourself, then you really should. So I've mentioned that it's a little bit more complex than Shopify was last week. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of setting up a campaign. There's no sound on it, so I'll talk you through it as we're going along. But basically, Business Manager has some different parts in it. The part that you would set up your campaign in is Ads Manager. I've got the URL there for you. And let's go. Setting up your campaign is in 3 parts. So the first part is the campaign. So you'd hit create, and then it gives you these options that we've spoken about. You name your campaign. You can name your ad set and your ads here, but I don't tend to. I prefer to keep them separate. It's just the way my head works. So this is the campaign setup, which is the top level. And in the campaign setup, the main thing you're going to do is you're going to set your budget. Just on that, I'm just going to pause for a second. Just on your budget, I've spoken about £5 a day, so you can work with a daily budget, but you can also set an overall campaign budget. And Facebook will decide how to send it. One thing to know is just because you've set your budget, you may not spend it all. So Facebook may find that they don't have a big enough audience to send it to. So therefore, they don't. And if you're wondering, hang on, why haven't they taken all my money? That's the reason why. Okay, so the next phase, you've set up the campaign, and the next phase is the ad set. Now, the ad set is generally about setting your audience. It's about setting the platforms that you're going to use. And it's also about setting the time frame of the ad. So you'd set your ad set name. So here I've set one up that's for women who are 30 plus. So as we scroll down, as you may have just seen, that's for the website. I'm setting out for the website. I'm not changed the date, so it's just going to start straight away. And then I'm moving on down to my audience. So what I've decided to do is I want to do people in and around London. And I'm changing the radius to 10. What I found is sometimes if you put the postcode in, it lets you go smaller than the 10. I'm changing the age. And you can change the age at either ends, both parameters. Okay, and now it's going to start to go into, before we start to go into the placement, what I want to talk to you about in those ads that we, in the ad setup that we just looked at, is that I used something called a saved audience. So the saved audience is setting, these are the people that I want to target by kind of criteria that you set. what you could have also done, there was a tab just before that said custom audiences, and that would enable you to target to your Facebook group or set up that lookalike of people that look like your Facebook group, or advertise to people who've liked your website or visited your website, or people on your mailing list. So you would do that through custom audiences instead. So now we're moving on to placement. I've mentioned to you quite a lot about it being Facebook and Instagram and stories. What I haven't mentioned is also about the audience network. Facebook like you to keep everything on, and that's the way that it will appear. It was automatic. I much prefer working manually, so I can run a Facebook campaign and an Instagram campaign and a stories campaign, just because that works better for me and my work, the way that I work, and I find it easier to monitor the results that way. But you can do it all, because on the next screen, as you'll see, you can change your images. So as you can see, I'm just turning off the bits that I don't want to do, and it is just as simple as unchecking a box. I'm setting in the optimization delivery to landing page views. And the difference between landing page views and link clicks is landing page views tend to be the people that have got the patience to actually wait for your page to download, rather than the people that just click and get sidetracked by the next pretty thing. So that was the ad set phase. The next phase is the actual of making your ad. So you choose your page and your Instagram account, they'll probably be there for you automatically. And here you get lots of different choices. Actually, I'm just going to pause for a second to talk about the different choices. So you could run carousel ads, which is where you have lots of squares together. You could run a video ad. You could run a photo ad. Facebook gives you those options for you to choose from. And the things that dictate that is, one, your content, and two, the results that you want to get. Interestingly, I've never got great results with carousel ads, whereas I've spoken to people who find carousel ads much more effective. I tend to find a single image works much better. But try and error it for your audience a little bit, so you can run the two campaigns at the same time, just to see. So I'm just quickly showing you how you'd upload your images. So you just go in and choose your images, kind of just like any content management system would be, or running your ads in Facebook would be, or running your normal content in Facebook would be, in terms of the setup. I'm just showing you this quickly, that it's a way of tweaking them, the horizontal placement. It's not actually necessarily the best way to do it, as you're going to see now when I do this, because I can just tweak it slightly in there. What you're much better off doing, if something looks great in one place but doesn't look great in the other place, is on the next screen, where it says select a placement to edit. You can just go into that and you can actually change it, the image for a specific thing. So for example, you could have a square for Instagram and a portrait for stories. So next you're going to enter your text. Make sure that you make your headlines snappy. You can use emojis. One thing I would say about your text is, do always remember it's social media, and social being the operative word. So don't make it too salesy. Be chatty, be friendly, but do sell the benefits. Do say, right, hi there, is a great way to do it. You know, be as you'd be in social media. I think you've probably done lots of training courses about retailing and about telling, not selling, and it's that philosophy of kind of really like talking people through it, rather than, hey, buy this. So go for that more casual approach. As you can see over on the right here, I'm just going to enter a headline and description, but over on the right here you can see all of the different templates, and how it's going to appear. So you can check those in the view more variations, just to see what it looks like on every platform before you go live, and I would certainly make sure that that's something that you do. I'm looking at the calls to action here. You can choose the one that's most appropriate to you. There's book now, learn more, there's a shop now if it's your shop that you, or a gift vouchers that you want to promote. And then I'm coming down to the bottom to the tracking section. Now, tracking, while it's important, I think that's one for another day, because there's just so much to take in. And actually, the most important tracking you need to do right now is learn, or not right now, but when your salon reopens, is this converting to bringing me in new clients and positive revenue? So don't get too caught up in the tracking.
Amazing, Kate. Thank you so much. It was a great webinar and so much useful information there.
I'm not sure I'm finished, actually.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I'm kind of finished. No, I am kind of finished. I've just got an end screen here, which I've got a freebie that you can go to, which is Facebook, salondeputies.co.uk/Facebook ads. And I'm also running a competition. So for my competition, I've got 2 winners, and they will both, I'll set up your ads for both of you, either at Easter or when your salon dies down after the initial back to work boom. I'll set up your first visit offer for you, and there's going to be 2 winners. The first winner is going to be someone that downloads my freebie, which is really helpful anyway, so you should definitely do that. And the second one is going to be someone who likes my page and comments on this post here, the Mastering Social Media Ads post. All you need to do in the comments is, if you want to comment on today's presentation, then that's fantastic, but equally you can just stick an emoji in, whatever, but then you'll also need to like the Kate Hair and Beauty. And as I said, there'll be 2 winners, which I will choose on the 31st of January and let them know at some point in the week of beginning the 1st of February. In terms of downloading the download, is actually going to be from tomorrow that is available, which I aware isn't ideal, but I'm homeschooling 2 children and it's all quite exhausting. But that will definitely be available for you tomorrow. You can actually download the download now, but you just won't be entered into the competition until tomorrow. So that is me over, and sorry for banging on and on and on.
No, that was my fault, interrupted you too early. But thank you so much, Kate. That was really brilliant. And yes, so much great tips there. We have now got some time to go through some questions. So if you have any that you'd like to pop in the chat, we can try and get through those now. So first question is, does Facebook like you to post treatment prices? What's your opinion on posting treatment prices as part of a campaign?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, if you're running a Facebook ad, then it makes sense to run the price. Who's going to buy something without knowing what the price is? What I would say is I'd come back to the point that I made earlier about ads work best when there's some sort of urgency. So whether that's an offer of a package, or whether it's a limited time offer or something like that. So generally speaking, just running ads that are, we do this and it costs this much. If you're going to do that, then you really need to sell the experience, but your conversion rates are going to be much lower because you haven't got that need to buy.
Okay, and any tips on creating great imagery for beauty?
Yeah, okay, that's a hard one. That's a really hard one. I think about your clients and think about what gets them excited. Funnily enough, I found that sometimes product shots can work just as well as model shots, because I think there's something about model shots that just doesn't feel authentic. So if you've got brands, then nice flat lays in your salon can be a way to do it. Or alternatively, get rid of that and make the focus about you. So photos of the salon and photos of the team, because team photos do seem to resonate really well. So those are workarounds. I think authenticity is definitely the buzzword, and I'd be using the model shots as a last option rather than a first option.
Brilliant. And another question that we've had is, can you suggest an alternative email software or any that you recommend to MailChimp?
Yeah, sure. MailChimp is great. The free option is great, but as soon as you get up to like 1,000, or it might be 1,500 these days, people in your mailing list, they start to charge. And if you want automation, they start to charge. So I use Active Campaign, which I really like because it's visual. You drag and drop and what you want to do. So I really like that. It's not for everyone, and the cost of that are about £10 a month. Campaign Monitor is another option that's pretty good and popular. Or what you could do, like I've spoken in during this presentation about a few different options. So I kind of mentioned the landing pages, and I mentioned your emails, and I mentioned your integration with Messenger. So what you could do is you could go for like an all-encompassing platform that's going to do all of those things. But actually then that is going to come in at kind of about an absolute minimum of £60 a month. So it's to only do that if it's worth it for you.
Fab. And can you still do Facebook ads if you don't have a website link?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, absolutely. You can send people to an app. You can, I showed you the lead generation button, so you can just do a lead generation and to get an email address or a telephone number, you can do it that way. So yeah, absolutely. And likewise, I think I showed you in the pixel integration, you can also hook it up to your Shopify store. So if you just wanted to do something like that, you could do that.
Amazing. So there's lots of different places that you can drive to if you don't have a website.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And what would you recommend to capture images for video and photos of yourself, please?
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to put my hands on the table here, my cards on the table here, and say images is my worst aspect of marketing. And the reason for that is because I'm like a real words person. So images, I would always like spend a long time over considering what's going to work best. Can you just go back to the question? Because I think I've just said that and now I've forgotten what I was going to answer.
Yeah, of course. I'm just going to find the question again because it's popped out of my head. Where was it? I guess it was how to take good pictures, and if there's anything that you recommend to take. I'm
not the best person for that. That's my answer to that. I would, there's an awful lot of people that do that and do that really well, and it's all that they focus on. There's lots of videos on YouTube. And actually, I've had appear in my Instagram feed about 3 times in the last couple of weeks as a sponsored post about taking videos for hair and beauty and taking photos and videos for the hair and beauty industry. So download a course. Most of them are about somewhere between £7 on offer to £100. So it's worth doing that if that's a problem for you. And actually, it's something that I'd really advise everybody to master.
Amazing advice. And how can, Anora would like to know, how can I tell if my website designer has included the Facebook pixel in my website?
Just ask them. You can do it, but you have to be a bit techie. You're going to need to go into your page source and whatever. So just ask.
Okie dokie. Amazing. I've got time for a few more questions.
I've seen a few questions come up about landing pages, which actually is really important. And I should have said this sooner. The reason I talk about using landing pages, so a landing page is a page, sometimes it's a sales page, it's going to look a lot like your ad. So it's going to have the same images, the same sort of text, the same sort of messages. So they're going to kind of resemble each other. And on that landing page, it's going to make it really easy for them to take the action that you want to do. So whether that is buying the package, or whether it is putting their email address in so that you can then contact them for them to buy the package. But a landing page is just a lot more clean and simple. So you tend to take the navigation off, just make it really simple, to be honest. And the really important thing to note is never with your Facebook ads just link to the homepage of your website, because you need to make it as easy as for people as possible, because we are bloody lazy. And 1, we're bloody lazy, and 2, we don't have time. So if it's not really easy to do it straight away, then people aren't going to look around. So that's why I always recommend using landing pages instead. You can take it out of the equation and use the lead gen's Facebook advertising option if that freaks you out.
Awesome. And how do we go about, so with before and after pics, I know you were saying that that can be quite a tricky one to do with Facebook ads. So with this person, they're saying that their before and afters, how do you get around the fact that they don't like before and after pics when generally that's what clients want to see? Is there any ways around it?
No. Do you know what? Like I've had a couple of occasions where I've got before and afters through, but most of the time they haven't got through. They don't like it actually says in their ad policy, and you'll get something in the lump jumps up that says we don't like before and afters. And also they don't like anything that they consider to be unrealistic transformations. And that could be that it's a 15-day change, or it could be the before and after journey that your course of treatments can bring about. And if they refuse it, it's really frustrating, but you're kind of back to the drawing board. It's Facebook's platform and they get to set the rules.
Amazing. And we've got time for a couple more questions, so I'll just try and get through the last that we've had in. But loads of people have said this has been really helpful. Thank you so much.
Oh, pleasure.
And we will have this posted on our YouTube and IGTV channels afterwards. So if you missed the beginning or want to rewatch, you can go there and rewatch it all again. The social media competition, and we'll also add a link to that as well, so you can access the competition that Kate's running. And have we got any more questions? MailChimp we've covered. What could you say is an example in an advert to build urgency if it's if you have time to answer that one?
Okay, so for example, actually on my Salon Deputy website, I've got lots and lots and lots of campaign ideas, or not campaign ideas, but promotion ideas. And a thing might be, let's say you have a 25% off first visitor offer, but you've got a quiet month or a quiet couple of weeks. So you go, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to up that to 50%. So for 2 weeks only, we're giving you 50% off. So you need to register, you need to take advantage of it by such and such a date. When it's gone, it's gone. So that would be an example of it. Another example of it would be to say, okay, so we've put together this package. This package contains this treatment, that treatment, the other treatment. The normal value of this would be this, but actually we're giving 10 of them, or 15 of them, or 5 of them, or 1 of them if it's really amazing, for this price. But it's about kind of the limited numbers or limited time.
Amazing. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our webinar, but thank you so much, Kate, and for everyone who joined us today. That was a really brilliant session, and you can rewatch this webinar on our YouTube and IGTV channels, and we'll also pop a link to Kate's competition. But Kate, where can they find that tomorrow if they go to your homepage?
Yeah, well, do you know what I'm going to do? I am going to stick, I'm going to go on to each of your Facebook Lives, and I'm going to put the details of it. It's obviously in that home screen. And also I'll post it on everywhere I can think of.
Okay, brilliant. Oh, thank you so much, Kate, and for everyone watching, and we'll see you all very soon. Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.